because we've put up with so much crap in wrestling that you forget that because we live in our own, like, it's a bubble, we live in our own world, and we like all these things that I forgot how that was offensive.
Heck of a week on the YouTube channel and the podcast. We had our 4th interview with John Cena, which you can check out right up there. And now we've got Mickie James coming back for her 3rd appearance on the show. And this interview is brought to you by Upstart. And if you're carrying credit card debt from month to month and you dread looking at those credit card bills, Upstart can help lift that weight off your shoulders and help you feel the relief of living credit card debt-free. Upstart is the fast and easy way to pay off your debt with a personal loan, and it's all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple, fixed monthly payment. Unlike other lenders, Upstart looks at more than just your credit score. They look at things like your income and your employment history, which means they can offer you smarter rates from trusted partners. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate up front for loans between $1,000 to $50,000. And you can receive your funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. So find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments by going right there to upstart.com/CVV. That's upstart.com/CVV. Make sure to use our link. It's also down below in the description so they know that we're the ones who sent you there. I'll put it on the screen one more time. It's upstart.com/CVV. Now let's get to her. She's so awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Mickie James.
So good to see you.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Welcome back to the show.
I know, it's been a while. It's been a long while.
It is, well, look, we did an interview in person. This was years ago.
Yes.
We had some of you and your Goss sisters on recently, like,
Yes.
During the pandemic when this was the only way that we could speak to each other.
I know.
But since then, your podcast, your YouTube channel has been growing so much.
Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We've really, really found our groove. I think that in the space of like taking the show, like really trying to create the show as a real show and kind of editing it down and then doing the podcast and doing like different things, just kind of, it's taken a minute. We've been doing it for a year now. And obviously it started during the pandemic because, we thought it would be fun and we needed something to cure our boredom. But it's really taken on a life of its little own there. So it's really, really cool to see. So,
well, and I was honored to be a guest. I can't even believe that you guys would want me on your show.
I can't believe you wore a onesie on our show.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Lisa showed up at my house and said, I have a onesie. You don't have to wear it, but if you want to, here it is.
You're like, give me that onesie.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll do anything for you guys. But it's so good to have you back on the show. Obviously, a lot has changed, since the last time I saw you on. How about the fact that you are now an executive producer in NWA?
Yeah, it's a really cool space. It's really, really cool because obviously it means that I'm in charge of and kind of co-owner, co-promoter, whatever you want to call it with Billy. And the fact that Billy believes in me enough to, give me the NWA umbrella to kind of build this thing, which was something that I've wanted to do for a long time is really, really cool, and I think that we have the potential to do some really, really cool stuff there. And I'm just grateful to be able to shine a light on women's wrestling, it's something that I've wanted to do. And I think that we do a lot of that, but we have so many like shows out there it's really cool. And obviously I know I'm not a pioneer. There's been tons of women's wrestling show, but for television women's wrestling, it's a different space, so I'm excited.
What exactly does the title executive producer mean? Because that's not a title we hear in wrestling that often.
Yeah, well, and it was ironic that Billy chose that, like when he said it that way, because I go like, that a lot of people aren't going to understand what executive producer means. Like they just hear the word produce and they go like, oh yeah, she's going to, help put the show together. And it's like, no, you have like the responsibility is like completely on my shoulders. And I'm so grateful that Billy trusts me to put that responsibility on my shoulders as like creating this brand, so it's mine, my little baby thing, and I've been like really leaning on, like, I'd really like to put a space together where I have a powerful group of women that have been there, have done that, got a t-shirt and knows what it takes to make money in this business to help lead the future, because you like, I only had a handful of people to really help me with that. And I think once I had that core group of people, like women like that, to help lead me, I grew so much so quickly. And it's just nice to be able to help to provide that platform for girls, you
Yeah.
know?
Are
Yeah.
you planning to be booked on this show?
I mean, I'm not a mark, Chris. I'm not gonna sit there and book myself on top of my own show. Come on. Who does that?
Who wouldn't want to see that though?
Everybody does that, don't they?
This is how wrestling works.
That is how wrestling works. I don't have any, like, I don't really have any intentions of working on the show. I'll probably like come out and say hello, because I really want to focus on the show. And I want this show to be a success. And I'm going to be in Gorilla on the headset, running and talking and doing all these things. I can't perform that job to the best of my abilities and be out there, wrestling at the same time. I just feel like it blurs the lines,
Right.
like, I'm not saying I won't wrestle. And obviously I'm still an independent contractor. I could do all kinds of things. I can still wrestle. I'm pretty good at it. Last time I checked, I'm all right at
You
it.
are very good at it.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes we forget, so it's nice to be reminded.
I mean,
But
the industry has changed, I feel like, so much since you
yeah,
got into it, especially in terms of women's wrestling. What would you say
yeah.
have been the biggest shifts that you've seen in the course of your career?
I feel like it's all gone through ebbs and flows, like I've watched wrestling and the women in the industry, and it's always done this kind of, we take it seriously and then it dives back down, and then it's like novelty bra and panties, like TNA kind of, and then it takes back up and it's back about the wrestling, and then we go back down and it's going to be divas and this and that and the third, and then we take it back up and it's about the wrestling, but now we've taken it back up and it's about the wrestling, and there's like a little, but it's not it's not like the roller coaster, it's just like little ripples, which
Yeah.
is cool to see. But I think everyone and every company has really stepped up and developing their women's division, but honestly because they have no choice, because the women are so good now.
Yeah.
Whereas before you might only have a handful of really good female talent. Now there's an ocean of female talent out there that can go,
Yeah.
and that's the real difference maker. But I think that's a testament to all that groundwork and all that pavement treaded, by every single female before us, before myself, and, that did that, because it's taken a long time to get to the space where it's like people go like, no, women's wrestling actually kicks ass. Like it's
Was there, like, when you were coming up, were women being trained differently than the men were being trained?
um, no, because I only trained with men. There wasn't any women wrestling. Like there was no females in my training class. There's none.
Wow.
And then it wasn't until I was about a year and a half in the business, and then and except for the one, like the girlfriend, but she was only a manager, and come out like she wasn't really training. She just came out with her boyfriend on the shows, so it's just like there wasn't a whole lot of women training to be a wrestler. If they were training to be anything, it was a valet or, something like that. So I was only training with men. So I had to learn how to work like the guys. Like I had to learn how to wrestle like the guys, because that's who were teaching me, and it took me a minute actually to realize like, hey, I need to wrestle a little, like I need to throw in my femalisms, because that's what makes me different to wrestle like a female. I feel like there's a real art to being able to go like the boys, but remembering that you're a woman and throwing those female aspects in there, because that's what makes
Mhm.
us different and that's what makes it unique. And I've been like, I don't know if you've ever been in a bar fight, Chris.
I mean, I don't know if I want to get into the details
We
here,
won't go
but
into the details. We
but
won't go into
yes.
the details. But men and women fight very, very differently when it comes to
Mm.
real fighting. Right? Like you guys don't like go clawing at the eyes or like snatching weaves or anything like that, or picking up well, might pick up a bottle.
Yeah.
But women are nasty when they fight. You know what I mean? Like they get vicious. Like when they're really fiery red hot, there is no telling what we might do,
Yeah.
So that's just that unpredictability about us, it's hormones or whatever you want to call it.
You talk about these shifts and these ebbs and flows. When would you say would be the biggest shift that you noticed where things trended up and didn't really trend down that much?
The Women's Wrestling Matters movement, I think, was the big shift. It was the real awakening moment of that awareness moment, because I felt like it always been a thing, and there had been some groundbreaking stuff that had happened before that, whether it was Trish and Lita main event in Raw, or there was like so much stuff that had happened at Trish and I at WrestleMania, like that was like really like a cool, like that story had so much investment. So I felt like there was already this swelling
Mm.
that had been happening. And then we like give them a little and then we take it away. And then we let them have it a little bit and we take it away. But at that moment, I felt like it was trying to be taken away and the people were like, no, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't like this. This is not cool. Like, this is not how we see women anymore. It's a new age. It's a new dawn. So yeah, that was a real impactful moment. And I think it was a real like awakening moment for every company to kind of step up and start presenting women in a different level, in a different aspect, and start taking them seriously. So
Yeah. I mean, look, NWA seems like the perfect place for you to land since, someone who lives in your house is very involved in
he's
NWA.
very, very involved. He's very, very involved. But I felt like that was the key element of me not just going over to the NWA. And obviously, I'm not, I haven't signed with the NWA. I'm partnering with the NWA. So there's a different element for me, because I think that, Billy and Nick and everyone involved at NWA have worked so hard. And I've been able to see that from the sidelines and watch it and support it. And I feel like they've done so much to bring that brand up in a space. But as you know, when you're married to someone and you want to be meshed together, but sometimes he's worked so hard to separate himself and to develop himself, especially after like Magnus and all these other things, to come over here and he's killing it. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely killing it. Probably the best body of work of his career. And I felt like a weird space of going like, okay, I'll just, I could show up. I guess I could be at the NWA too. And I love how they present the show. Like, I love how they present wrestling. I feel like it's so different than what everybody else is doing. It's that throwback feel. It's what I grew up on, like that type of wrestling that I grew up on. And I love the promos and just the characters and just, it's awesome. It's awesome to see. And it's something I definitely like, it resonates with me as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I've known Billy for a long time though. Like, I've known Billy probably longer than I've known my husband. It's crazy to think that way, but we have always remained friends. And so I've always been like had a serious sense of admiration for someone who in my space, like I've tried to cross over into music and I've done like some acting, but like I know how hard it is to try to cross over from one genre to another and be
Mm.
taken seriously. So for Billy, and that's the kind of irony of the twists of fate with us, is like for him to come from music and then cross over in wrestling and then build this and bring this back to life like he has, and they have so much. Like, it's been really, really cool to see, because a lot of people aren't that successful in doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little sidebar here. What's your favorite Smashing Pumpkins song?
Oh my God. We were just having this conversation the other
Mm.
day, and he was like, "Oh, really?" Bullet with Butterfly Wings.
The world is a
World is a
vampire.
vampire. Do you want to know why? That's my favorite.
Please.
No, there's tons of like God, there's so many good ones, right? Like, there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
You would think it was like 1979 because
That's
like
mine.
I was born. We don't need to talk about that, but I know that's a good one.
That song is like, it's just the soundtrack of nostalgia.
It is. It's a good
Yeah.
one. There's so many, right? Like, he's just a musical genius. It's makes me angry sometimes. No,
So why is it Bullet with Butterfly Wings?
okay. So the reason why is because when I was growing up, we didn't have cable television in Montpelier, Virginia. So my stepbrother would, when he was home visiting his mom, he would tape MTV for me. So that is like, and my sister and I. So that was my first experience of music videos, of Yo MTV Raps, of music videos, and that was the very first Smashing Pumpkins video. That was my first introduction to Smashing Pumpkins. That was the first one I ever saw. Was on a VHS tape in my living room, just going, "What is this?" Like, what is this? And
Yeah.
and that's why I think it will always resonate with me. And that, like, that's probably my favorite song, like, because I can go back to that moment of like when I was first introduced to music videos.
Yeah. When I interviewed him, he said that people call him the rat in a cage guy
You're right in the
because of
cage.
that song.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he is a legit rock star.
Yeah, he actually had told me a cool story, the backstory, because I don't think that he was absolutely in love with that song, and he ended up going with that song. I'll let him tell you that story, I guess, one day, because I don't want to get it wrong. But I think that he wasn't going to lead with that song. That wasn't his pick for like this lead song, and he just put his trust in the guy that was like, "No, trust me, kid,"
Hmm.
because that was like a big breakout song for them. Um,
Yeah.
I don't want to misquote him or tell his story, but we were talking about that, and I was like, because he was like, oh, you know, we were talking about this exact same thing, and I was like, yeah, that was the first time I saw music videos, and that was like one of the first
Wow.
Smashing Pumpkins video I ever
Yeah.
saw, and I was like, these guys are cool, like that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
You know, you spent so much of your career in WWE that I assumed, I think a lot of other fans assumed that you would end your career there. How surprised were you to be part of this recent round of releases?
Um, well, I think surprised is a word that I don't throw around. Like I'm never surprised at anything. Like I just nothing surprises me really anymore. Um, I I guess, I did. It's hard to have expectations, right? Because nothing ever goes according to your plan. But I really thought that I thought I would wrap my career there. And I thought I was like so grateful to be able to go back and have the opportunity to kind of wrap up my story there and kind of bow out in a good graces kind of way, because I felt like the first time I left was on such weird terms.
Yeah.
So, and I did some amazing stuff when I came back. I really did. But it wasn't shocking, because I kind of was in the space where I felt it kind of coming, and I can't explain it. I can't explain why. It's just because I'm a weird person, but I kind of felt it already coming, but it was just like disheartening.
Mm.
It just was disappointing, I should say, more so than anything.
How different is this release from the other release that you had?
I think that, well, I'm a, you know, I've been through a lot more since I have been then. And I think that Mickey James in 2010 was in a very like weird space with Mickey James. Like she was in a bad space with Mickey James. And it's crazy to think that after the amount of success that I had had there, but I just had so much personal stuff going on that it really started to affect me. And I was just burning the candle at both ends in the middle, and I dedicated everything. All my eggs were in the wrestling basket, right? Like my whole life was wrestling, wrestling, wrestling. And I'd really like only valued myself according to how the company valued me. It was just like that kind of mentality that was just grown up. I was young and I was hungry, and I just loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. And I'd do anything for wrestling and whatever you want. And, that kind of super crazy wrestling obsessed. This is my dream. This is my passion. I'm just grateful to be here. And so when that was taken from me, in a sense, or whatever, however you want to slice it, I was devastated. I was absolutely, it came me like, I remember when Impact called me, Dixie called me, and I was like, Dixie, I just don't want to. Like, I'm so heartbroken. I have zero desire to do anything right now. Like, I don't
Mm.
want to do anything. And she kept calling. She had Kurt call me. She had, like, Kurt was the one who actually talked me into going to Impact. It was Kurt who called me that talked me into it, because he's just amazing and it's Kurt Angle. But um, no disrespect to Dixie. Like I love Dixie too. She's awesome. But it was like
Sure,
I
but you
think that
knew Kurt from your time in WWE, right?
I
Yeah.
did. And then like it was just like a real like honest pep talk and like a reality check for me from him, because to get his perspective, and he for me, I'm like, when I think of one of the greatest wrestlers in the world for sure, on checks every box all the way down the line, I think Kurt Angle is like one of the greatest of all times. And so for him to like understand where I was coming from, but also have a relatable answer to that
Yeah.
was really, really cool. It kind of like opened back up my eyes, because I was just so sad, It was really, really sad. And then like this time I wasn't as sad. I was just more disappointed, because I'm like, you can approach, because now we've been through things and you know how the business works. And now it's not my absolute everything. All my eggs aren't in that basket anymore. I'm an entrepreneur. I built, I'm doing all these things. I'm a mom. I'm a singer. I try to do these things. I try to incorporate them in when they're accepted, and when they're not, that's cool too. Like, um, yeah. So I feel like I approached it this time from a more adult, grown standpoint.
Yeah.
But yeah,
When you were released in 2010, did your stuff arrive in a trash bag then too?
It did.
Wow.
It did. And I said that, and I said that, and I was like, and that's, I guess, this is the crazy thing, because I think that, the fans reminded me almost, like, I kind of posted that picture, and not in jest, I would say, but more as a, oh yeah, this is still a thing. This is kind of on
You're
par.
kind of saying like, I'm used to this. This is what I expected.
Because we become so desensitized to, because we've put up with so much crap in wrestling, that you forget that, because we live in our own, like, it's a bubble, we live in our own world, and we like all these things that I forgot how that was offensive. I forgot that it was actually, you know what I mean? I was just more like, hey, yeah, this is not cool, but okay, whatever, but I also, and there was more to that than that too, because I also rewinded back to 10 years, the 2010 Mickey James, and where I was mentally in that space. And when that happened, that time, the first time, it was like the stab in the heart to my already open wound. You know what I mean? Like, that was a real, like, low blow, because I genuinely took it then as, they think I'm trash. They're throwing me out with the garbage. Like, after, obviously I hadn't, like, done, you know what I mean? I was with the company at that point, besides developmental on television, for like, 4 years, 5 years at that point. But for me, I go like, they just think I'm like, I can't believe it. They just, like, are throwing me out with the garbage, and they think I'm trash. And it's just all these things, all these thoughts, these weak thoughts were running through my head, but they're real thoughts. And if you're already broken down, they can really devastate a person. And so that, it reminded me of that. And so when I'm thinking about it, then I'm thinking about that list of people who got released right beside me. And I'm like, I see my name on the bag, and I'm like, well, that's because that's defining which bag is going in which box, So then I'm thinking about whatever, like, I'm thinking about those girls going, oh my God, they got to be heartbroken over this, but they're never going to say anything. Just like 10 years ago, Mickey would have never said anything, because I would never want to mess up an opportunity for the future, because there's always, an opportunity to do something in the future. There's always an opportunity to do something, a second chance or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
but this Mickey James just don't give a shit. I'm kidding, but I'm not. Like, it's just like,
Yeah, no, I believe you. Was there a moment
I say
though?
that in a loving space. I do have nothing but, like, I am super grateful for my career and the ability to have been able, and I could not have done that without WWE. Like, they have like, and they say that, like, oh, we give opportunities. You do. They do give a lot of, like, people like Mickey James would have not been a star coming from Montpelier, Virginia. Well, maybe not me. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? If it wasn't,
No, you were born to be a star. Come on.
I was.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Was there a moment though, before you sent that tweet, where you went, should I really do this? I mean, look, you're a future Hall of Famer for sure. And this could maybe make them go, huh, we were going to put Mickey in the Hall of Fame one day. Then she kind of said this mean thing about us.
Yeah, but this is silly. Yeah, there was actually. There was. I had it. I was like, I started to, and that's it, because I was getting ready for the photo shoot for my new song. We had the photo shoot planned, and I was like getting ready, hair and makeup, all these things. And then the box arrives, I actually got 2 boxes that day. One of the boxes arrived after I'd already gone to do the shoot and all that stuff. So here I am getting all my stuff together to go do the shoot. And then the box arrives, and I'm like, you know how, like, just like I'm like, so I open it, and I'm like, motherfuckers, like, really? Of course, and don't get me wrong. Like, I don't want it to come off as bitter, because I'm not bitter. And I hate, like, this is one of the reasons why I avoided doing media for a long, because I'm like, I don't want to just be the bag lady, like, or be known for the trash, or that can't be a defining thing of Mickey James. You know what I mean? It's just what it did do, though. And I'm grateful for that, is that nobody else will get their shit in a trash bag.
Yeah. You definitely created some change here.
This last set of round of releases are probably getting all their stuff in Gucci,
Nicely folded. Yes.
Folded with the paper, in between to divide, thank you letter, all kinds of things.
So maybe, how shocked were you?
Gift card to Ruth Chris.
How shocked were you that it did actually create some sort of change?
I was pretty shocked because there was even a minute where after I'd already sent it and I was kind of like, okay, done.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, what it
Yeah.
is. Where I sat and then like as I was getting ready to, leave, I go, maybe you second guess yourself. You're like,
Sure.
because I never want to come off in an ugly space or like this, in an ugly space, right? So I was like, maybe this is too much. Maybe I'm gonna
Yeah.
come off as like the bitter one. And I'm not bitter. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm better. I'm not bitter. I'm better. Right. But can we say that? Can we say that out loud?
I like that. Yeah.
Don't be bitter, be better. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. But so I thought I was like, oh man, I should probably delete this. Like maybe I should delete it. Because I'm still make a company girl, Mickie James, thinking out loud, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I was, you know, and then I was like, no, fuck it. Like, no, I'm leaving it because
Yeah.
one, it's kind of funny, and two, they need to know. Because
Yeah.
I don't think this is something that way at the top they know that this thing is happening. This is a down the ladder thing that has been happening and is a cultural thing, and it was just a thoughtless thing, and that's just it. It was a thoughtless thing.
Yeah. Well, they made it seem like Mark Carano was going, all right, bag up Mickey's stuff in a trash bag and send it out to her.
Yeah.
And I mean, he ended up taking the brunt of this, but you made it sound like that wasn't the person that actually was responsible for this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that me getting my stuff in a trash bag was the point where I felt like when I looked at and I said it's on par because it's on par of how I've felt for like the last 2 years
Yeah.
because I tried everything in my space to pitch to do, and I felt like I was cut off at every turn or it was turned into some kabuki like weird thing that was kind of twisted to make it look like it was on me, and like there was all these weird things that happen, and I can't go like I'm not even going to go into all of it but there was a lot of things that happened in the last 2 years that really made me feel that I was being purposely humbled along the way. You know what I mean? Like, no, we don't want to get like it, and no, you don't really deserve a retirement match. Just step in. And it wasn't like I was upset about stepping into a producer role because I love the idea of helping develop talent. I don't want to wrestle forever. This was when I sought out on this run with WWE. This was my last run in wrestling. That's kind of in Mickie James' plan. This was the perfect parlay, and I can go over. All I wanted was like this one like little moment. I didn't need to win the championship, but can I build someone on the way out? Can I put somebody over? Can I do something that means something that's magic that then I can bow out gracefully and then I can parlay over? And that in between that checks and trying to balance or like compromise, I just felt like there was zero interest. And then, which is totally cool. Like you know what I mean? It's totally cool. Get it. But then even sitting back and then trying different things of commentary or, going to NXT and just trying out the trainer role and sitting back there and then constantly like pitching this idea for this women's thing and really being made to feel like it, not that it's not like women's wrestling isn't appreciated. It's just
Mhm.
more of like that's a little bit too much, like that's just it's not viable from a company standpoint, like.
Yeah.
And for me, when I'm like, well, then what have I dedicated 20 years of my life to this business for if women's wrestling isn't a marquee thing, doesn't make money or whatever? Because I set out to change the business and to help grow it and to make it better. And it'd be really cool. We're in a space now where people are very receptive to that and they are almost demanding it and they really, really want it. And it would be cool because we have so many stars and there are so much talent out there. That's just it. Even on the indie scene that we have our hands on that a lot of them we're not even using, and it can really grow them and develop them and give them a chance to sit under these umbrellas of legends who have done it. Like there was a huge opportunity to capitalize on the movement. And it was just kind of like,
Yeah.
eh.
It seems really unfair that you may be considered quote unquote old as a women's wrestler, but then there's men who are about the same age as you who are considered in their prime, Brock Lesnar or Randy Orton or Sheamus, we could go on and on and on. It just doesn't seem fair.
Well, yeah, I mean, it isn't fair. But I think that's always been a culture. Like I remember when I first came on, they were like, "Oh, by 35, women are done in this business." Like there's like, and women also had like a shorter careers. Like a 5-year career for a woman on television was a long time, and maybe that has something to do with it, the fact that I've been on television and stayed kind of relevant for the last 15 years in some capacity. And
Yeah.
there- there's probably a couple factors, you know what I mean? And I'm all about like building to the future and stuff, but you can't shit on your former champions and the history that was made in those things in the process, right? Like there's an art to it. And you know, maybe it's because I'm a wrestler and I look at wrestling from, a wrestler and a wrestling fan's perspective, because I was also a fan. And
Sure.
I also am kind of like up on what's relevant today in 2021, and so I just kind of look at like how people's mindsets have changed. I mean, we have like J Lo, one of the sexiest women in the world, and she's 50, 50, 51, 50 now.
Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston, same. And they're like,
Yeah.
we just don't look at age like that anymore. But in wrestling, it's still kind of, as we always have been, a little late to the party.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But it's just like, I could never wrap my head around why. And I even said, like, I don't think this is funny and I don't think it's entertaining to get, like, would you have given like one of your male champions who are older than me, by the way, by all of them almost, would you have given them Depends and a walker? Like that's kind of, it's bullshit. It's not funny. And I can't believe that you guys think it's funny. They're so out of touch. You don't even realize you're out of touch. And I was so offended. And I said that I was offended, but I'm also a professional. And so I did it anyway, because I'm like, and as a pro, you go like, well, fine, I'll just do it and we'll see what the people say.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of like where I go. Like I try to I claim my truth in the sense of what I feel and what I think. And if people listen, great. If they don't, then I'm like, all right, well, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it and see what happens. And 9 times out of 10, I was right every single time.
Yeah.
But
But it's already happened though. It's already
it's
out
too
there.
late then, because it's already happened. But it's like I almost had to do it just to prove my point, And
Yeah.
that's a crappy place, because I'm like, I feel like you should trust me enough at this point to know that I'm not an idiot, and that I'm not just like looking at it from my own perspective and my own lens. I'm looking at it from the lens of our audience and where they're at now, you know?
And this is why, Empower, NWA's event, is going to be so great because you're looking at it through a completely different lens.
Yeah, well, and two, and no disrespect, because I am, I approach my career with such gratitude, and I am thankful and I am humble, but you can only be humble for so long, and you can only be humbled for so long until you go like, no, actually, I am pretty awesome and I have done a lot and I deserve the respect. And if that's not going to be given to me, then I don't deserve to be in a place where I'm not getting it in that space. And if I have a chance or an opportunity to do something that can change that and change that mentality, so other people, by the time a Sasha or a Bailey gets to this space,
Yeah.
that perhaps they're treated with a little bit more grace. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because they deserve
Mhm.
it, and they absolutely deserve it. And that's not me being shitty. That's just me being honest. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah. I'm really curious. What was Nick's reaction when he found out, when you told him that you were released?
we were sitting outside. We were by the pool because we were actually looking at like calling the pool people to figure out how we were going to get this pool opened, and like figure it, because I was struggling with the pump. That's so weird. But I'm like, we're sitting there, and then Johnny called me, and I saw the phone ringing, and I was also like in this weird because I was like, I kind of felt it at WrestleMania when I was there, not at NXT. When I went to WrestleMania, I had this weird thing kind of like it was just like a weird energy in the locker room, and I just finished talking to Foxy, and she got up to go do something or whatever, and I was just kind of sitting there and like looking and observing the locker room, and I just had this like feeling. I go like, this is the last time I'm going to be in the locker room in this space. Like it's going to be the last time that it's going to be a talent in the locker room.
Wow.
Like just enjoy it, embrace it, take it for what it is, but it is what it is, right?
Hmm.
And so it was just really, really weird. So it wasn't like I was shocked at like, but I wasn't heartbroken either. I just kind of was like, I had the conversation with Johnny, and he was polite and he was nice, and he was like, I hate to be the one to say this, and I'm like, you always are, but hate to be the one to say this, because he was the same person who let me go the first time.
Yeah.
Um, and I love Johnny. Don't get me like, it's not even a thing. It was just like, yeah, like I've always been able to be blunt and honest with Johnny. Like he knows that I don't come from a malicious space, but yeah, I just kind of was like, and then I hung up the phone and I just kind of sat there for a second. I'm going like, yeah.
Hmm.
And then Nick kind of looks over and he's like, because he's doing whatever with the pool. And I'm like, I just got released. And he was just like, he was shook. He was a bit like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I go, yeah, I'm fine.
Hmm.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. No, I was like, I mean, we all go through our processes differently, but in that moment, like obviously I got sad about it and I went through the whole and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
but I really was like, because I think it was that thing of going like, I knew,
Yeah.
it kind of felt
It's like when things feel weird with the boyfriend or girlfriend, and then they send you the "we have to talk" text, and you're like, And
yeah,
even though that wasn't sent to you, a "we have to talk" text, it sounds like what it felt like when you were at WrestleMania.
right. It was kind of, we need to talk.
Yeah, and that's never good.
No, it's never good. It's never good.
At what point in your career did you start to think about life after wrestling?
Before I went back the first time.
Okay.
I mean, not the, yeah, before
And that's when you were all in on music.
that's when I was really, because I had walked away from Impact at that time and I'd had Donovan, and I wasn't in a space where I really wanted to go back to Impact. Like it wasn't like I wasn't against it, but I was also like, I don't know, like kind of, I don't know. Cause there was like a little bit of weirdness or whatever there, but I don't know. And then I was sitting there with Nick and I'm like, I don't want to end my career on the indies. Like I've been in wrestling so long. I've seen so much. And it's like, I think I'd rather just kind of bow out gracefully now, like quiet. Like I didn't want this to be my retirement, but I think I'd rather just stop wrestling altogether and then just do the music and just do appearances and maybe do something now and then if it meant something or if it was cool. But I don't want to slowly fizzle away, like, and it's, what is it, Randy the Ram?
Yes, from the movie The Wrestler. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, maybe it's time. Like, maybe it's time. Like, clearly WWE, because at that point I was like, clearly WWE isn't interested. Like, I'd reached out to them several times, didn't really want to go back to Impact. And then the only other option was like Ring of Honor at that time. And I was just like, that felt like I was going backwards.
Yeah.
And I'm not a person who goes backwards. It's always forward, 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 and up, never sideways. Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of how my mind thinks. And I just was like, okay, well, it's next chapter time then. And it's ironic when you finally let something go and just kind of go like, all right, that was when I got the call. That was when I got
Wow.
the call to go back. And it's so
Yeah.
crazy to think about. So yeah.
I mean, and look at all the things that you've done since then.
Yeah. I have. And I have to remember that sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to remember about all the things that you have done and instead of like all the things that you didn't get to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we because we have so many expectations or we have like this vision and we have this plan, but nothing ever really goes according to our plan. I don't care how well you try to plan.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Like we get all these curveballs thrown at us. Mine tend to smack me right in the face. I don't know about you. But yeah, like it's just I've just learned to realize like I need to stop, like I have to stop trying to controlling the direction and just trust the direction. You know what I mean? And
I
that's
mean, all you can control is your reaction to what's happening to you.
1000%.
You can't control what's going to happen. All you can control is your reaction to the things that are happening.
Right. And I'm not like hard done by or like this victim or anything like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? I'm too tough to be that, but that you're so right in that. Like you really, the only person or the only thing that you have control over is your own self, and then it's hard to think like that. It's hard to be in that
Yeah.
space. Get it if you're still trying to control other people's thoughts or opinions of you or
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you think is the best piece of advice you've received? It doesn't need to be in wrestling, just in general. What's the best piece of advice that you've received?
Oh God. Oh God, there's so many. I think I don't even know how to answer that question. I'll be honest. I'm like, God, there's been so many. Um, it would have to be along the lines of, and I don't know if I'm going to get it worded right, like of that space of uh, you can't like live your life based on other people's, opinions of you, whether it be of your value, of what, like a lot of it is like of what you're worth. Like you can't base, and I spent a lot of time, and I think that's the business kind of breeds that because we're always searching for the opinions of a company or bosses. And was that a good, like, was that okay? Was it good? All these other things. Um, but you really can't. Because you in your heart, whether
Yeah.
it was good or bad. Like
Yeah.
it never really lies to you. You can lie to it, but it doesn't lie to you. Like if it was good, if it was. So yeah, you can't base your whole life based on other
Yeah.
people's perception or opinions of you or your value.
What about Nick? What do you think is the best thing, the biggest thing you've learned from your relationship, your friendship, your partnership with Nick?
Compromise. Compromise, which is not something I'm particularly good at. I'll be honest. Mm, not. He's probably better at it than I am. Yeah,
He's a
I
kind British gentleman, right?
He is. He is. He is. I mean, there's certain things that he doesn't really like to compromise on as well, but the art of compromise, and I think, especially as being a mom of, I think that this is such a self-serving business that we have to be so selfish for so long. Like
Yeah.
just being a mom for the last 7 years, 6 going on 7 years, it's really changed my thinking of like, it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's not about me. Even the Empower, it's not about me. It's about the future. It's about the women. It's about all of us. Like that's a weird space because that's what it's ingrained in us. In order to be successful, the only person who's going to look out for you is you, and you got to protect yourself, and you got to make sure that they're not going to screw you over, and you got to make sure that like stay tough, thick skin, and all these things. Don't let it affect you. Don't show your weaknesses. All these things, and you're constantly like, oh, wrap so damn tight. Like I swear I'm tough, but yeah.
Yeah. Compromise. What about from Donovan, from your son? What's the biggest thing he's taught you?
Um, to laugh and like just to laugh and like enjoy those little moments. So you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I think because children look at things with way different eyes, right? Because it's untainted, it's not screwed up. I hope it's not screwed up anyway. That's what I'm trying to do is not screw it up.
Yeah.
um, but it's such an innocent view, and as we all go through life, which just like crap happens as it all does, and we forget that how amazing life really is, like, and so even when he was super young, to like see the birds fly or see a plane fly or do these things, like every little thing was cool and it was awesome and it was magical, and you just forget to take all that in sometimes.
Yeah.
And even like as he's growing, there's still things like when he sees them for the first time, or as how excited he gets and how happy he gets. And it's like they just live fully in that emotion. And it's really, really cool to see because we as adults don't do that. We like play it down. We
Yeah.
play it down all the time of like the amount of excitement or the amount of joy or the amount of sadness or whatever. We're just scared to tap into those because we don't want to be vulnerable. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like truly childlike wonder.
yeah, it's
It's
amazing.
exactly what it is. And also like childlike excitement. Like
Yeah.
nothing is better. And you're a mom. I am not a parent. But when you see that genuine smile on your son's face when he's experiencing something for the first
Oh,
time,
and their
it must
faces
just
light
melt your
up and
heart.
their like little hands go like that because they're just screaming with joy. Like, who does this anymore? Nobody. I don't even think I do this ever anymore.
Maybe we should start to do that more often.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I felt when you first came on the Zoom call. I'm like, yeah, it's Mickey James.
You just needed like maracas or something. Bottles of champagne.
Yeah. I mean, when I was on your show, we were drinking. We should have done that this time.
Sipskis.
We were drinking some delicious fresh fine wine.
That was. What'd you think of that wine? Did you like it?
I love it. I love it so much that I just placed an order yesterday, actually.
Are you kidding?
I'm dead serious.
That's awesome.
Find me another, and this is not a promo for fresh vine wine, by the way, everyone.
No.
Find me another wine, though, that's low sugar and low carb and gluten-free.
Gluten-free, keto friendly?
You could
Not
drink like
that
7 bottles of that and not get hungover.
Yeah.
Maybe
No,
6.
it's a really good tasting wine. Hey, I know a guy that kind of helps with that company.
Yeah, you know a guy.
I know a guy. No, they're like they've sent me, and the cool thing is that they deliver the boxes straight to your house, and it's all packed in the
Yeah.
little bottle box. You know, and
Again,
then
this is not a promo for them, but it's
no,
so good.
I swear I'm not trying to sell them, but they're pretty awesome.
But speaking of the God Ladies, your recent single is Grown Ass Women. I love that you're still doing music right now with everything that you have going on. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Grown Ass Women. I wrote, it's also, well, you probably wouldn't realize this, but it's also the intro to Gaw TV, to our show.
Yeah.
Because I had started working on this song a while back ago, and I was like originally pitching it to try to work with this rap artist, this female rap artist, to do kind of some cool things. So I really only had the hook written and like this cool intro. But then I met Chapel Hart, this band out of Mississippi. They're CMT's Next Women a Country, and I just fell in love with them. And I'm like, this, because I've just kind of been sitting on it, and I made it the intro for the Gaw TV, but I've still been sitting. I'm like, you know how you have this like itching feeling? I'm like, this song is meant to do some cool stuff. Like, this is a good song. Like, I know that this is going to be a great song. It's got a good purpose. It's got a good message. I just need the right people. Like, it needs I could have done it myself, but it wouldn't be as powerful as it is with these ladies. And so
Yeah.
my friend Sean, who's the producer on the record and also is a co-writer on the song, and he introduced me to them. And I was like, we got to write this song together. Like, it's such like a statement, and then I was in their music video, You Can Have Jolene. And so then we got there and did that and kept writing, went in the studio and then recorded it. And it's amazing. Like, the feedback has been nothing. And I really feel like it's like a female power anthem, like it's just like screams empowerment. It's like a summer anthem. It's really like it's an amazing, and I don't say this about my music. Like,
It's
don't
damn
say
catchy.
it is damn catchy. It's damn catchy. And I listen to my music a lot of times, and I'm just sitting there like my matches. I'm just sitting there going, I'm nitpicking it, all of it apart, but
Yeah.
this song, I'm like, no, this song's a good song.
You're living in Nashville, right?
I am. Well,
Okay, so
outside of Nashville, but yes.
You're basically in Nashville. So
in the outskirts,
So when you live in Nashville and you're surrounded by singers, songwriters, producers, don't you feel that energy of like, I need to be making music?
Right. Yeah. And that's all I've because I've been kind of at home, for a while now through all this pandemic, as we all have. But that's kind of what I devoted. That was what helped keep me sane, aside from creating the Gaw TV show, was I just need to write. And that's what I did. And
like I live in Los Angeles now, and there's this energy here for like television and movies. Like, everybody here is associated with the business in some sort of way. It's that in Nashville. Like, Nashville is that for music.
Yeah, it's all music, but it's also like there's so much music, and it's not just country music anymore.
Yeah, it's just music.
And we're getting a lot of LA transplants. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Well, it's a lot cheaper to live there than it is here.
It is, but not that much. I mean, I'm like, the prices here, it's the fastest growing city in the US, like Nashville. They can't keep up with it, the roads and all this. I mean, I love the city, but it's so eclectic because it has so many people from all walks of life. And it's not just country music, it's rock music, it's rap music, it's art, it's Vanderbilt doctors, and these, like, all these things. It's just like this eclectic group of people, and it's a really cool town. I mean, it's like still got that old school, like, people still say ma'am and sir, but yet it's a cool, vibrant city. I really like, I love Richmond, and I love my home. And I will always be a Virginia girl, but at the same time, Nashville is like my second home.
I went to Nashville for the first time last month, and I went out on Broadway. I should have called you.
You didn't call me, bro.
I mean, you were too busy, being a musician. That
was momming. I was probably momming.
That's right. Momming so hard.
Bed by 8:30.
We went to like 5 different bars on a random Wednesday on Broadway. And every single person that was on stage there could have been signed to a record label deal like that. They're all so talented.
I know. I know. That's what I mean. That is the one thing, is that you're a small fish in a huge ocean down there.
Sure.
Kind of, it's like you really just hope that the right person is in that bar wherever you're playing, or you get just that's all you really, really need. Like it's a lot of people trying to make it here, you know. And I was very blessed to have the platform from wrestling where people actually paid attention and go like, oh, she's doing a record. And obviously my fans all love my stuff and they're going to download it or whatever. But to even get that airplay or that, you know, from the country music world, that's been a journey in itself. And it's just now, you know, what, 10 years later since I put out my first record, that I've really started to gain some real traction, and people are like, now it's not just like, oh, that wrestling girl that's doing the music, because I've been down here and kept grinding, kept doing it. Like, to prove that, no, it's not like a novelty thing. I actually really, really love it. Like, I don't have any expectations of being the next Carrie Underwood. I just like to do, like, I just love music, and I've always loved music, and I've always wanted to do it. So I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. Who's on your playlist right now?
Oh God.
And this could be across all genres.
Yeah. Well, let's just have a look-ski, shall we?
Pull it up. Let's
pull it up. What's the last thing I downloaded? I got a little, oh God. I got some crazy stuff on here.
I'll bring it. The more embarrassing, the better. I mean, I've been listening to BTS a lot recently.
No, it's a sad state of affairs. I have everything from like Disney songs on here to like hard gangster rap. Like, I listen to a lot of rap when I work out. It makes me
like who?
It's usually like throwback rap. Like, you know, but then some new stuff, you know. I like DaBaby, you know.
Love DaBaby.
Love DaBaby. No, I'm like trying to find like last downloaded here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm taking two. You're like, okay, this is too much now.
No, I'm excited. And everybody is on the edge of their seat right now.
Her? Have you
What's
heard
that?
Her?
Her.
You know who she is?
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, she's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
I have her. There's also obviously my song on there.
Of course.
Oh, how about this song? I downloaded the other day. I'm sitting there searching for myself. I'm like,
it's a song about you?
It's a song about me. Who is this guy? Johnny Mano.
Well, somebody needs to let Johnny Mano know that you have heard his song, Mickie James.
I have heard his song. I have heard his
song. What do you think of his song, Mickie James?
It was good. It was interesting. It was good. He said some things. He said some things about me, and there. I mean, it was all in a. I think it was meant to be in a very loving space and a very admirable.
He has a big crush on you.
He crushed. He thirsty.
No,
yeah. So Alabama Shakes, that they're huge. Yep. They're on mine. But I also have a lot of like old school stuff too. Like I have Eagles and I have Foreigner, and I just love music, and I have classical music on here. Like,
yeah.
This is why my phone was never really allowed to be plugged up on shuffle to the locker room boombox, because it was really, especially if I walked out of the room, I was terrified to walk out of the room because I did not know what was going to come up next.
I completely agree with you.
I mean, it could be like spoken Spanish because I'm sitting here like learning to learn Spanish on tape, or it could be Girl from the Disney Princesses album. It could be a Good Day, a little Ice Cube. It could be a lot of things. It could be a little Jack White. I just don't know what's going to pop up. I really don't.
I love it, man. We've covered a lot in this interview. We have laughed. We have gotten very serious. Oh, it's so good.
I always laugh with you.
Me too. I always laugh with you. You're the best. I wish we could do this in person. In fact, I should have done it when I was in Nashville.
You should have. And if you
really dropped the ball there.
Huge ball drop.
I want to have you and Nick on at the same time.
We should do that.
We will do that one in person.
Okay.
We will do that one in person, perhaps in the week leading up to Empower.
I would love that.
Let's make it
I would
happen.
love to. Are you
Yeah,
gonna
that'd be
come to
great.
St. Louis? Are you coming?
I mean, if you'll have me.
I might send you a little a VIP selected ticket, like in a little envelope, like super
Oh
profesh,
my goodness.
you know?
I mean,
You're
I do know the
cordially
executive
invited.
producer of that show.
Yes. Yes.
I end every interview talking about gratitude. And we've talked about it so much during this conversation, but I think it's such an important thing to like key in on in your life every single day. So,
Yeah.
what are 3 things in your life right now, Mickey, that you're grateful for?
Um, my health, my family, and um, I think my spirit,
Hmm.
like my spirit to like just keep doing the good, like just kicking ass.
It's what you do. We love your spirit
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
and we love you.
Oh, I love you too.
Thank you so much for coming on.
I do the attitude of gratitude all the time. Like I'm super, I think we've talked about that, all the LOA and like trying to just put it out there.
I love that kind of stuff
Yeah, same.
because I think that if you can focus on the things in your life that you have, rather than focusing on the things in your life that you don't have or maybe didn't go well for you,
Mhm.
if you're focusing on the things that you have, how could you possibly be upset?
Right. Well, I think too, I am very much in a space of like, you have to be grateful for what you have and thankful for what you have so you keep getting your blessings. When you stop being thankful for all the things that you already have, because there's a lot of things that we all have. We all want more. We all dream big. Like we all want a lot of things, but in that, if you want those things, you still have to be super grateful for what you already have, or you'll stop getting those things because it's just all in your, it's a real mental warfare, because it's a fine line, you don't want complacency, but at the same time, like, I got a roof over my head, my electricity's on, I got a beautiful home, I got a beautiful family, I got my mom's still kicking, my dad's still kicking, I love them so much. Like, yeah, you have to be
Yeah, I think that like attracts like.
for
And if
sure.
you're being grateful for the things that you have, you're going to attract more things so you can have
Right.
more things.
And if you don't, you'll just block them. You'll just block them because it's just almost like you're saying, I don't want these things. You know what I mean? Because I just don't
Yes.
know what to do with them, or I just, I'm not grateful for what I have, so I can't take on anymore.
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. That's a bit spiritual. It's a very spiritual space, I think.
That was great.
Yeah.
Mickey James, thank you so much.
You're amazing. Thanks, Chris.